Hey guys, welcome to I believe it's episode 5 of the podcast. Sorry it's a week late. I almost didn't podcast today. Actually, I almost pushed it off another week, but so many of you have sent me so many kind messages saying how you were really excited for the next podcast episode and you were really hoping it would be soon. So I'm just gonna do a quick little episode for you. I definitely wanted to chat with you guys today, so if you're here, thank you. I really appreciate you tuning in and for all your kind comments, and it just makes me really happy to be able to have this podcast and to be able to have a conversation with you guys. So thank you for that. So let's just jump into stash enhancement or yarn acquisitions, whatever you want to call it. And as always, I will put time codes in the description box if you would like to skip a section or skip to a certain section. I don't care if you do that. I mean, I understand a lot that people don't, want to be tempted to buy yarn or just don't even care about the yarn that I've, acquired lately. I totally get it. Just go ahead and skip to FOs or whips. But for those of you that do care, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to say I have a mountain of yarn acquisitions, but a lot of what I've bought recently is for gift knitting. So I feel like that doesn't count, right? Not this week's pile. This week's pile is for patterns, but the next podcast episode will be pretty much mostly gift knitting yarn. So OML is coming up, which is the Our Maker Life event. It's coming up in July. I don't know if any of you are going to that. I'd love to know if you are. Pop that in the comments. I may or may not be doing some gift knitting for that. So once that yarn gets here, I've got a haul ass on that before July. But anyway, we'll talk about that next podcast episode. So my first, yarn goodness is from Blossom and Fern Yarn Co. It's their label there. And this is their Darling sock base. And I got 3. So I got it in bittersweet, burgundy, and olive. And this pretty much sums up a lot of my color palette. I am obsessed with green. Green is my absolute favorite color in anything. I love to wear green. And if I'm gonna wear pink or purple, which I don't do very often, but if I do, it's either going to be a dark, dusty version like this or a light, dusty version. And then I love mustard yellow, just like a dirty, kind of gross yellow. I love it. I especially love it when it's a darker tone like this. So this looks a little bit different than it did online, which is totally common. I'm not upset about it. I still love the color, but I was expecting it to be a little bit darker, I guess. So I was going to make a shawl with these 3, but now I don't know about the mustard. I might use the mustard for something else. What do you think? Do you think just these 2 and then maybe get another neutral like a gray or a cream? Or do you think the mustard is good for a shawl? I don't know. This will probably be started in August, so I've got a while. So it's their Darling sock base. It's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, 3-ply, 425 yards, and it's 115 gram skein. I love these colors. They're absolutely stunning. They're just really rich and beautiful. I would love to make a sweater out of either this purple or the green. I cannot wait to get started on something with this, but I've already got too much going on, so it'll have to wait probably until August. So you guys have probably heard of this company. I've been following her for a while and I've loved her yarn, but I've never tried it until now. So it's the Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. So I got some sport weight, and these 2 are the same. And then also some DK. So the sport weight is 100 grams of sport weight, 300 meters. So this is a BFL base it's non-superwash, and I've never tried BFL before, so that's one of the reasons that I wanted to try it. And so this is Wildflowers, and this is Meadow. I don't really know what I'm going to make with these now that I'm thinking about it. 900 meters is probably, it's like just under 1,000 yards, is not enough to make a sweater. So I don't know what I was thinking in buying just 3 of these. I should have bought a 4th. Maybe there was only this amount. I don't remember. Now it seems foolish. Maybe I'll go back and see if she has another one when I go to make this so that I can make a sweater out of it. I obviously didn't think that one through very well. It's woolly without being super scratchy, if that makes sense. Like, it's definitely not like a cashmerino blend. It's not that soft. Having it up against my neck doesn't really bother me. It might take some getting used to if it were a sweater, but it is pretty soft. And it's really bouncy, I guess is the right way to describe it. I think it's probably a 2-ply. At least it looks like a 2-ply. But it's really springy, kind of bouncy. So I think it would make a good sweater if I can get another skein so I have enough. I was really only going online to buy those 3, but then I saw this color. So it's this beautiful minty color that she calls Seafoam. I love this color. I actually have another skein that's similar to this from a different yarn dyer. But this is DK weight, so it's 200 meters. The fiber type is called Dorset Horn, which I don't really know what that is. Assuming it's a certain kind of sheep from the UK, but I don't remember. I know she said it on her website, but this is very earthy, natural. I don't know what the right word is. It's not super soft. I don't want to speak badly of it because it's a beautiful color. I do like it, but I could not wear something made of this against my skin. Like if I made a cowl out of this or something, I couldn't wear it against my skin. It feels like it would be good for color work, especially because it's non-superwash. What I've heard people talk about in their podcast is that if you want to do color work, it's best to do it with non-superwash yarn because the fibers kind of stick together better. So my thought is that eventually, probably sometime this fall, I'll make a DK weight sweater and then I'll use these as color work so that whatever shirt I'm wearing under it means it won't be up against my skin, but it will be beautiful because this color is just gorgeous. I really like it. I'm really happy that I got to snag some of her yarn in one of her updates. I'm also really excited to try it. And again, I'm not saying this is bad yarn at all. It's just not as soft as like the yarn I'm used to, I guess. And since I'm pretty sensitive, I notice it more. I don't know what's the right word for that kind of yarn. I've heard people use like toothy. I don't know, what do the terms mean? Can someone tell me in the comments? I don't know the right way to describe yarn, and I feel like I should. And then you guys probably know that I have been working with Knit Crate a little bit in the past few months. So I got their Knit Crate. So Knit Crate is a company, a monthly yarn subscription company. So they have different, what they call crates, so different subscription options. So one of them is called Knit Crate, and then the others are like Sock Crate and Artisan Sock Crate and things like that. But I think it might be a little bit confusing that the company is called Knit Crate, and there is a box called Knit Crate, but they also have more options than that. But this is their Knit Crate. So with Knit Crate, you get 2 skeins of nice yarn and 2 patterns, so a crochet pattern and a knitting pattern. So this is their June colorway, and the colorway is called Chewies. It's their softest sock base. Yeah, 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, and 10% cashmere. It definitely feels like an MCM. So there's 437 yards per skein, and it's a fingering weight yarn. So it's this beautiful, beautiful color. I got 2 skeins of that, and I like this color. I'm very happy that I got this one. So with their service, you get kind of a mystery color. So their theme is ice cream for June. I think there's like maybe 4 total. There's either 3 or 4 total colors that you could potentially get. So I got the blue one, which I'm glad about because I like this color. I would definitely make something out of this, and especially with it being a cashmerino blend. This is definitely gonna be a shawl. but I haven't picked a pattern for it yet. But I will be putting out a video on Knit Crate for this month as well. So that should be out probably about the same time that this is out. I will link a coupon if you want to try Knit Crate. There's no pressure or anything, but if you like the idea of kind of a mystery yarn subscription service, then you might want to try it. Okay, so probably 2 weeks ago or so, there was a local fiber festival or fiber fair, and it was pretty small. It was in the Worthington Mall, if you know where that is, if you're local to Columbus. But it was there, and I looked up the vendor list, and it looked decent. It was small, because the mall is pretty tiny. So I looked it up, and there were probably, I would say, like 40-some vendors on the list. I could be wrong, could have been less than that. But from the map, it looked like quite a few vendors. And so I went. It was on a Saturday, and it was pretty small, like smaller than I was expecting. When I looked at the map on where people would be located, and then I actually went there were a lot of vendors missing. So there should have been like 2 more sections in the mall that should have had vendors, but they were empty. So it was a lot smaller than I was expecting, but it was still really cool. I have never been to a local festival like that, so it was just kind of neat to meet local people and to shop local. 4 things from 3 different vendors, and I'll start with where I went first. I walked in and I did like a loop just kind of to look around without shopping, and then I was going to go around again to shop. So that's what I did, is I walked around. Didn't take very long because it was pretty small, but I went with my mom. She was kind enough to keep me company. We did a loop, and then we went back to a couple places. And during our first loop, we stopped at this one booth. So disclaimer before I show this, Mom, if you're watching, don't look. You gotta turn it off, because this is a Christmas gift and you are not allowed to know about it. So everyone else can keep watching. Okay, so we went around to this booth the first time around, and she picked up this skein, and she held it for a while, and she was like, wow, I really love these colors. I would love to start wearing these colors more. And she put it back, and I was like, I'm totally coming back and snagging that after I leave her in a shop somewhere or something. So that's what I did. She went and sat down after our first loop, which was nice because then I went back and I got this skein for her. It's a pretty floral colorway, I would say. So it's got greens and pinks and brown. It doesn't really look like her, but she picked it out, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it either. I would love to make her a shawl, but I only bought 1 skein. I'm not a big fan of 1 skein shawls. If you can make it with 2, I would prefer that, and I think she's the same way. So I think I'll make a cowl or something out of this because she loves those. This is by a shop called Created For You by Laura, and this is her sassy sock base. So it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon 4-ply, and there's 463 yards, and this is the color Pistachio Pewter Flamingo Pink. I'm glad to have some Christmas knitting planned already. I don't know if you guys do that, but this year I'm determined to get some Christmas knitting done early because I'm always down to the wire and I'm always mad about the fact that I didn't start earlier. So this year I'm starting earlier. But anyway, this is the same company. So this is their fingering weight base, Mary Stash, and the color is Lilac set of 3. It's kind of a gradient set. I don't know if you can see that pretty well. One of the skeins is coming undone at the bottom, but it's a gradient set, and each skein, so there's 3, and each of them is 215 yards. It's a 75-25 as well, so you get over 600 yards total. So I'm going to try and make a gradient shawl with this. I've never done a gradient before, and I do like this purple. I don't know, I could also gift this to my mom as well and make her a shawl with this because she loves purple. There was another shop called the Spotted U Fibers. How cute is that logo? So it's a single ply 100% merino, 400 yards, and the colorway is Swamp Thing. So this is my color. I really, really love green. So I was trying to be good, so I only bought one. So that's just to try it. I don't know what I'm going to make with it. I think I'll use it when I find a good project for it and probably mix it with a couple other colors. And then finally, so I stopped at I think it's the 614 knit, because 614 is our like phone area code. So there is a 614 knit, I think it's Knit Studio or something. It's in town. I've never been to it. I honestly didn't really even know it existed until I stopped by this booth. So I stopped by their booth, and Jennifer of Clark & L had some of her yarn that she was selling with them. So she had her own little like tower of yarn in their booth. So I was just kind of looking around, and I had passed by her tower on my first trip around when I was just looking around, and I had really liked it, but I decided to, come back if I was still interested. So I came back at the end, and I gravitated towards this colorway. So it's just this beautiful, just kind of, I don't know, vintagey cream, I guess. So it's got bits of like a steely silver and like a dusty peach mixed in with the tan or the cream. So it just kind of gives it a vintage look, I guess. So I picked this up, and I was just kind of holding it and looking at the rest of her tower and her yarn. And she came up and she started talking to me, and she was just a sweetheart, man. She was really, really kind, and she's local, and she was telling me about the 614 Knit Studio place and how she has her yarn there sometimes and how they're just a great place to go. So I'm definitely going to be going and checking that out. So I was holding this, and I was telling her about how I wanted to do a Jane Austen inspired shawl pattern collection, and she was like, "That's so funny because the yarn that you're holding is from my Pride and Prejudice collection." And I was like, "Okay, all right, it's meant to be." So this is her Pemberley colorway. I posted about this on my story when I got home, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, and I don't remember who suggested this. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I can like picture your picture on Instagram, but I can't picture your name. So I'm sorry. Just know that I'm grateful. You know who you are. But she said you should make a Georgiana pattern with this. And I thought that was a great idea. So it's going to be a one skein shawl. I already have a stitch pattern picked out. This is going to be one of the first in my Jane Austen pattern collection, which I cannot wait to get started on. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you what this was. So this is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, 463 yards per 100 grams of fingering weight. Okay, so this is my last thing. It's not yarn. It's a project bag. It's my first one, actually. And now I've caught the project bag bug. I totally get why people have dozens of these. They're so convenient, they're cute, they're awesome. Typically, I would just, go out somewhere and just keep a sock knitting project in my bag, which if you're using Magic Loop method, isn't too big of a deal, because typically it's not going to slide off those needles. But I've been working a lot with 9-inch circulars, and they just slide right off of my bag. So I'd like pick it up at home church and be like ready to knit, and a lot of my stitches have fallen off or I've dropped stitches. So this prevents that. So I can just keep it in here and throw this in my bag and not have to worry about it. It's just a simple little bag. It's from Nomadic Yarns. The thing that I loved most about this is the fabric. It's Harry Potter theme. Little paintings of like Harry Potter locations. So I think that's Hagrid's hut. I'm trying to see this backwards. This is the Burrow, Hogwarts. So it's just lots of really cool buildings, and it just looks really cool because it's painted. And then it's just got a nice little handle. And I actually forgot that there is some yarn in here. This is sock crate yarn, and I've already started a project with it, but it's this really kind of cool tie-dye yarn. It's purple and blue and just really pretty. As I was saying earlier, Knit Crate, which is a yarn subscription service, does Sock Crate, which is a monthly sock subscription. So you get one skein of hand-dyed yarn exclusively for Knit Crate. or for sock crate. See what I mean about it being kind of confusing? But that is my sock crate colorway, and the sock I'm making with it is in whips, so you'll see that in a minute. And I'm a liar, I have 2 more skeins. This, she calls it Peach Perfect. This is from Carmen of the New Leaf podcast. So I love her podcast. Hers is probably one of my top 5. I absolutely love it. I cannot get enough. But I ordered this in one of her shop updates because she's been experimenting with yarn dyeing, and I don't know, they're beautiful, and I wanted to support her work. This is 60% wool, 20% rami, and 20% mulberry silk, and it's 425 meters for a 100 gram skein. So it's naturally dyed with madder root, and they're both the same. It doesn't say on here, but it is fingering weight yarn, and it's fairly soft. I expect it to bloom a little bit more with blocking or with washing. I don't know. I was expecting it to be like the Pachinku yarn, which has mulberry silk in it. I was expecting it to be as luscious as this, and it's not as soft as that. It is soft, but it's definitely not as soft as like a typical skein of sock yarn. But I do think that blocking will make it bloom, so I'll keep you posted. I have a summer top pattern in mind for these two. So yeah, again, it's not that the yarn is scratchy. It's not scratchy at all. It's soft. It's just not as soft as a typical sock skein of yarn. Like once it's knitted up, it might bloom when it washes. I will keep you posted. Carmen, I think these are great. I'm not trying to say anything bad about them. I am really excited to work with them. Now on to FOs, I guess. I have 3. They're actually pretty big FOs. So my shawl, which is enormous. I'm not kidding when I say this thing is a mammoth. Alright, let's see if I can do this. I'm only leaving it on for like 2 seconds because it's so hot in here. I don't know how to wear shawls either. This is it. It's here you go. It's not blocked, so it'll look much better after it's been blocked. But this is my shawl using storied fibers or story fiber arts. Paris is always a good idea. So this is the large size. I'm having it tech edited at the moment, and then it will be off to the test knitters. It's an asymmetrical shawl, so that means it starts out wide and then you decrease to a point. The large size starts out, and it starts out at 2 feet. And then it goes down to like 1 inch. So this is one end. Starts out this wide, and then you go down to this. So it starts out with a lot of stitches on the needle. So it takes a while to get started, but then once you do, it just gets faster and faster. And by the time you get down to, the last bit, it's so fast. And you've got lace sections. So here's some lace. And then of course you just have garter. And then you also have a section of like this smocked stitch. I forget what it's actually called. It's just in one of my stitch dictionaries. It was a lot of fun, but it's definitely one of those knits, if you make the large size at least. It's one of those ones where you just kind of turn your brain off and you just work in the section that you're working on, and you just kind of go without thinking about it. So because the sections are pretty long, so it's like you're working in garter for like a long time, or you're working in lace for a long section. If you like that kind of knitting, then you'll enjoy it. If you get bored really quickly, it probably won't change fast enough for you. Then again, if you make the smaller size, then the sections will be smaller. I like it. I cannot wait for it to actually be cold enough to wear it, because I will definitely bundle up in that. But for now, it is too hot. Alright, so yeah, that's in tech editing phase right now. And then I'll send it out to test knitters, hopefully by this weekend. I'm going out of town on Thursday for a long weekend to visit family. So I don't know how much time I'll have to get any work done. But Anyway, this is my other one. So it's a top, and I'll actually throw this one on so you guys can see it. So here it is. So here is the top. And then you've got pretty wide sleeves and there's some ribbing. So it's a V-neck that comes up and then it cuts over even more. So, which I really like. I like that detailing a lot. I like that it does that. So there's a V and then it cuts over. And I love the wide sleeves. There is no decreasing on the sleeves, which I'm a fan of. I like that. You could certainly add some if you wanted to use less yarn, or if you wanted a little bit less fabric under here. This I still have to type up and grade. I was so busy grading another pattern that I didn't get a chance to do this one yet, but yeah, I don't know. I love it. I have it a little bit, I'm pulling it up a little bit because this is the first draft, and I'm going to fix this problem when I write up the pattern, but the sample at the moment is too low. Like the V-neck goes pretty low, which I was not trying to do. What I didn't account for is that this is worked in the round from the bottom up, and then you split when you get to the sleeves. So you work back and forth on the front panel and the back panel once you're about halfway up. And I didn't account for the gauge to change when I switched from working in the round to working flat. So it meant that the V is a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be. So I'm just going to take some rows from up here, I think, and shorten it or make the V-neck shorter. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It's actually more like this, which I guess you could wear it with a tank top underneath and be fine, but this is this is too low for me. But I don't know. Do you guys mind having to wear a tank top underneath, or would you rather it be taller, like the V-neck come up higher to about where my tank top is? Because I was thinking I wanted it to be higher, but now that I see it with the tank top, I actually kind of like it. I don't know. I'd love your opinion on that. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of wide sleeves. I know that a lot of patterns have really tight sleeves, but I'm not a fan of that. This is more me, more of my style. So yeah, I don't know. But this is using the Knit 1 Crochet 2 Cosette yarn. So if you remember this yarn that I got in the mail, I don't know, a while back. So this is blocked. So this does look a lot nicer after it's been blocked. It has a wonderful drape, and this yarn is beautiful. It's silk, cotton, and nylon. So if you have trouble with wool, or if you want to wear this in the summer, this is a great option. I really, really recommend this yarn. I would definitely make a lot more things in this yarn. So one thing that this was done intentionally, but it looks like a mistake, but it was done intentionally, and I like the way it looks. But okay, so if you look at this side, so there's a bigger section of a knit rib, and on the other side there's a bigger section of a purl rib. So you can kind of see it, knit rib here, purl rib here. It just gives it a little something extra, a little something unique about it. So I like that aspect. But just so you know, if that would bother you, it is going to be how the pattern is written. But I like it. It gives it an added detail, in my opinion. But anyway, you will see this soon. Yeah, I'll show you the next one. Okay, so the next FO is this. So you may remember this pattern from a little while ago. But I finally added sleeves. So I have not blocked it or woven in my ends, so I apologize. But I went with 3/4 length sleeves, but I will be writing the pattern for both 3/4 length and long. I just felt like this would be a good fit, and I actually love it. I will wear this a ton when it gets cool enough to wear it. And so it's a yoke sweater, and I fixed the issue of having too much fabric here, and the sleeves have the texture on them that the body of the sweater does, and you have the same fading sequence that you do down here. So I'm going to take this off. This sweater has been a labor of love. I did the neckline like 3 times before I was finally able to do the body. And then I did the body pretty much no problem. And then when I was done with the body, I realized that the yoke was too bunched up. So I had to redo the yoke 3 more times before I got it to be correct or look good. And then I finally did the sleeves. And the sleeves took, I think, 2 tries, maybe 3 tries. So it's been a lot of like starting and stopping and ripping back and starting again. I'm very happy to have this finished. I love it. I love it. I think it's my favorite design to date. It's beautiful. I love it. This is using Allie at Explore Knits and Fibers. It's her yarn. This was on a mountain trail, sprig, and haze is the purple. I also will be doing a knit along for this, probably about the end of July. I just finished grading it. It took me like 4 at least 12-hour days in a row. I'm paying someone to do it next time. That was so hard. I am not good at math. It's so much trial and error. Someone just asked me on Instagram if I would write a blog post on how to grade patterns, and I don't feel like I know enough about it to do that. For me, it's very much trial and error. It's like, okay, try this, that didn't work. Try this, that didn't work. Okay, what else can I do? Trying as many different things as I can until something clicks. I do not feel confident enough to write a blog post or do a podcast episode on it. If I get better at it, I definitely will. But I feel like there's no information I can really offer you that will help you. So I'm sorry. Yes, there will be a knit along. It will be starting probably at the very end of July, if not the first week of August. That way we can have it done in time for fall. And if you are a yarn dyer, or anyone you know is a yarn dyer, and you want to make kits for it, or have someone ask them if they want to make kits for it, please reach out to me. I would love to compile a list of all the possible kits that people could buy for it for the knit along. I'd love to just make a video about that. Reach out to me if that's something that is interesting to you, because the kits will probably have to be for sale at least a week or 2 before the knit along starts so everybody can get their yarn in time. So this is a heads up on that. That is FOs. Let's see, I've got 2 sock whips. So this one you already know. Chain 20 stitch marker. This is the Marley pattern by Cabin 4. I'm on my 2nd sock. I love the way that the first one fits. It fits like a dream. I really, really enjoy it. My one problem with the pattern, or not even really problem, but one of the things that I find hard about the pattern, and this is just a preference thing I guess, is that it's written for double pointed needles. And I'm working on Magic Loop, and I'm actually working on another of their patterns on 9-inch circulars, so not double pointed needles as well. And so it'll be like, do this for the rest of needle 1, and then do this for this portion of needle 2. And so I have to go back and look at how the stitches are supposed to be arranged so I know how many stitches that is to knit. It's not that hard. And it only happens a few times in each pattern, but it is a little bit like, I wish that it had been written for both Magic Loop and double pointed needles. And this is my May sock crate yarn. Weekend is the colorway. And then this is my June sock crate. So the tie-dye looking yarn that I showed you earlier, this is what it looks like knit up as a sock. So it really does look like tie-dye. I think it looks really cool. So this is another Cabin 4 pattern. I think this one is called Irish Oats. And I did make a modification. So down the middle here, in between the 2 cables, there is supposed to be a seed stitch section, but I swapped that out for reverse stockinette because with the yarn being so stripy and so, patterned, it was just too busy. It was too much going on. If this was a solid yarn, I think that the whole lot of texture would be amazing. But I just opted for the simpler option, or the simpler look. So yeah, I've done the leg and part of the foot. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna run out of yarn. I think this yarn only has like 380 yards, and I made the leg really long. I did not realize how long it was. I'm going to weigh the skein after I finish this sock and see if it's half. And if it's not, then I'll have to cut this and redo a little bit of the cuff so that it's shorter, and then use the leftover yarn for the second sock. And then another whip. It's on really tiny needles. It's kind of hard to show you, but this is my Koigu cuff to cuff cardigan, so it's worked sideways. So this is one of the sleeves. So this is the cuff of the sleeve, the finished sleeve, and then I cast on additional stitches for the back. The arm will be smaller. It'll be like this because you're going to seam up the side. This is all I have for the body of it, but I have an entire sleeve done, and I had to redo the sleeve like twice. So it looks like there's probably not that much progress, but I'm almost halfway there. So hoping to get some work on this done this weekend as well. And then I think I just have one more. I only have a few whips, isn't that weird? I think I only have 4. I mean, I still have to redo some things and cast on some more stuff, but at the moment, I only have one pattern project in the works. Anyway, this is a selfish knitting project that I started. It's the Piper cardigan by Libby Johnson, who has the Truly Myrtle podcast. So it looks kind of funky because it's a top-down cardigan, which I've never done before, and I'm at like a weird place to kind of show you. Okay, so it hasn't been blocked or anything, but I think this is pretty much how it goes. So I've done the back section, or the back neck section, and then the first bit of the front. So it's this really, really pretty cabled section, and then this will be down by the sleeve. And so I'm doing I think pretty much the same thing on the left side, so there will be another panel. How I understand it is there will be another panel here, and then I'm assuming I join in the round, or I join underneath the sleeves, not in the round, and work back and forth on the back and the 2 fronts at the same time. But at the moment, there's a lot of things on scrap yarn. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely, absolutely loving it. This is my Hello Stella yarn, so the Hello Stella DK, and this is in a custom colorway that she did for me last year. So that's what this green is. It's been just a blast to knit. It's been challenging, which I love. I absolutely love patterns where I get to try techniques I've never done before. So because of this pattern, I learned how to cable without a cable needle, because it just makes it so much faster, and it's actually really easy. I mean, I'm only doing a cable 4, so you only have 2 stitches that you're, cabling, but it's really easy. If you have any patterns you're working on with a cable 4, I suggest looking up a cabling without a cable needle tutorial, because it's really easy and it saves you a lot of time. And I learned how to do a crochet provisional cast on, which I guess I shouldn't say I really learned how to do it, because I've failed at it. Every time I've done it, I've messed it up. Right here, can you see a line? So basically what happened is I did a crochet provisional cast on, and I think I worked part of the back, and then I had to pick up along that provisional cast on after undoing it. And what happened is that all the stitches got shifted one leg over, if that makes sense. So it just doesn't line up. I'll try and show you up close. Do you see how there's like a ridge there? So it's ribbing and it's supposed to line up perfectly, but it's one leg off. So everything's shifted one leg, so half a stitch over. I don't know how I did that. I've done it multiple times because there's a lot of crochet provisional cast-ons. So if anybody has any tips on how to fix that, I would appreciate them. But otherwise, I love the pattern. Even with those mistakes, it's like nobody I know that lives around here really knits. So nobody will see the mistakes. I'll know they're there, but I don't really care. And I think once it's blocked, you won't be able to notice it either. I'm absolutely in love with the way this cardigan is looking. And the yarn. This green, this is my green. It's really, really hot in here. So I'm gonna leave you. But thank you for watching and for tuning in. And if you leave a comment or a like or anything, you are greatly appreciated. I cannot wait to go to the comments and start having conversations with you guys. I'll see you next time, and yeah, just have a great rest of your week. I hope you get lots of time for knitting or whatever it is that you feel like you want to do. So, have a good day.